Okay, hello everyone. My name is Allison and welcome to SAIT Summer Camps Online. We're excited to have you participate in our online program. Kayla is also with us today. However, she is working behind the scenes. So before we start, please note that these sessions are being recorded and will be posted to our website. So I just mentioned this, but if you haven't done so already, please go to www.menti.com and type in the code at the top of the screen. So that's 29722, and then toss us some hearts and thumbs up. And there is an interactive component to this presentation, and that's where it'll be. So www.menti.com. And if you have any questions throughout, please ask it. There's two little speech bubbles on the Zoom chat box, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. So just to be clear, keep Zoom open, and then in another tab, just open Menti, and then you'll have both. We'll be using both. Perfect. So I'll wait a couple more minutes just for everybody to get onto menti.com, and then we'll get going. I see a couple hearts, a couple thumbs up, a couple cats. That's perfect. Wonderful. Okay, so we'll go over our agenda for today. So the first thing I will do is go over the main objective. Then we'll head to menti.com. We'll then introduce our guest speaker for today and then have the interview and then complete the Q&A. So if you've joined us in past speaker series presentations, we have had tons of questions from you guys, which is fantastic. And we kind of cut my question short and then answer your questions, which is exactly what we want. So feel free to type in any questions that you have, and we'll do our best to answer them. Perfect. And I still see some hearts coming, so that's fantastic. Okay, so what is the main objective? The main objective of this speaker series today is to gain an understanding of what a baker does, if it is something that matches your interests, and if it could be a potential path for you. Alternatively, if you hear something that you've never thought of or doesn't align with what you thought a baker does, that's important for you to find out as well. If you've been listening to these speaker series, you've heard me discuss the importance of the career exploration journey while you're still in high school, because sometimes it's not always linear. Sometimes we have to explore different areas before we actually find what it is we want to do. So our hope is that this presentation will be a tool for you to gain a better understanding of what a baker does and see if it could be something that is right for you, or if it is better left as just a hobby. So I do want to include a disclaimer. This talk today is intended to be informational. We won't be baking or working on baking skills or anything like that. If that is something you'd be interested in, please sign up for our session next week, where we will be baking zucchini chocolate chip cookies. They're great. I've had them before. So please, there's still room there. So if you want to bake, sign up for that session. And if you're just joining us for the first time, again, www.menti.com and use the code 29722. And lots of hearts are coming in, so that's fantastic. Perfect. Okay, so now it is the interactive component part. So if you're on Menti, you'll see this screen. So what grade are you in? We just kind of want to get a sense of who we're talking to. I know I can't see or interact with you guys, so this is kind of the next best thing. So let us know what grade you're in. Fantastic. Grade 8 seems to be the winner right now. Couple grade 10s, couple grade 9s. Perfect. No grade 11 or 12s. Still grade 8 is in the lead. Okay. Couple more minutes. Okay, grade 8, you win. Perfect. Okay, what is a baker? So what are some things that come to your mind when you think of a baker? You should have a screen on Menti and just type in either a word or a phrase, something that comes to your mind. And it'll populate on the screen here. Pastry chef, cake decorating, cake, cookies. Yep. That's great. And you'll notice that some words will become big and then some words will stay small. So the bigger words mean that multiple people have submitted that word or that phrase. And then the smaller words mean that only a couple people or one person submitted that smaller word. So some people are saying waking up early. A cook who does pastries. That's interesting. Yeah. Bread, sweets, sugar. Yeah. Creativity. Desserts. So cake is a big one. Cake and cookies. Decorations. Yeah. That's great. Perfect. Yeah, so a baker uses their understanding of ingredients and food preparation to craft recipes and create baked goods. So you guys are correct in your suggestions. Perfect. So why are you interested in baking? I want to be a baker. I like baking for a hobby. I like to eat baked goods. Me too. I love to eat baked goods. So I'm with you there. No bakers so far, but lots like to bake for a hobby. That's the majority, okay. Okay, that's good to know. Perfect. Okay, so now it's time to introduce our guest speaker. So our guest speaker today is Kayla Marcellus. Kayla took the 2-year Baking and Pastry Arts program at SAIT and currently works as a pastry chef for Philosophy Coffee here in Calgary. Kayla, are you with us?
I'm here. Hello.
Perfect. Can everyone give her some hearts? Let me see. Yay. That's like our applause. Wonderful. Okay, so that's it for the Menti portion. Now we're just going to go into the interview part of it. Perfect. Okay. So Kayla, just to start us off, can you describe a little bit about yourself? I gave you just a brief introduction, but can you give us a little more information on your educational background, your past jobs, your current jobs, everything like that?
Yeah, so I took the Baking and Pastry Arts program at SAIT, which is 2 years. And right after that, I worked at SAIT summer camps, doing the mini bakers. So I taught little kids how to bake, which was super fun. And then I worked at Bridget Bar as their pastry cook, which is, I think, top 50 restaurants in Calgary, which is pretty cool right off the bat to start at. And then I previously was working at Finesse Desserts, but because of the whole COVID thing, we had to shut down. And so I just got a job at Philosophy Coffee, so we're just waiting for a kitchen to be built to start that.
Wonderful. Yeah. So a lot of people might actually recognize Kayla because she was one of our leaders. So that's fantastic. So thank you again for coming on and sharing your experience with us. So we were discussing, just to kind of clear the air before, about the correct terminology. So can you please describe the difference between cooking and baking, or more specifically between a culinary chef and a pastry chef?
Yeah, so a culinary chef mostly focuses on savory things, whereas pastry chef or a baker usually do more sweet things. There can overlap, but mainly when you do culinary cooking, you do more of like dinners and lunches, and when you do the pastry, you do the desserts or, yeah, things like that.
Right, right. Okay. And then can you also describe the correct terminology for baking and how it's kind of an overarching term, and then the different components within baking?
Yeah, so when you say like baker, you think bread and muffins and cookies. And then when you think more pastry chef, which is kind of more what I do, you think like little mousse desserts and like fancy sugar things and chocolate more so. Whereas when you just do baking, you don't really do that kind of stuff.
Right. That's what I love. I love the mousse and the exactly what you just said. So that's great. Can you please describe a day in the life of a baker or past positions that you've had?
So obviously you start very early when you're a baker, as early as 2 a.m. sometimes, which is very early. Mostly when you do bread, that's when you start. If you do other things like what I was doing, usually the start time is about 7 a.m. So as soon as you get in the kitchen, the first thing you want to do is turn on the ovens. And then you do inventory. So you want to make sure you have everything that you need for the day. And then if you need to order anything, that's the main thing. And then, yeah, you just, depending on where you're working, like where I was working, the first thing we would do was fill the showcase for the day. So we would get all that prep done, and then we'd prep for things that we need in the future. So if we have any cake orders or needs to decorate cakes, that's what we would do. And then clean throughout the day, obviously, and then a big clean at the end of the day. And yeah, that's pretty much the day.
Yeah, and then what time does a typical day end if you start at 7-ish for you?
Usually I would end about 3 or 4. It depends how much work you have done. In the baking industry, it's rare that you have an end time. Usually you just go until you're done. So if you work 10, 12 hours usually. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah, so for our early risers, this would be a great path for you because you're up super early, and then I guess you kind of end relatively early, which is nice. So perfect. What made you choose this specific career?
So when I was in high school, I used to really like watching baking videos like Nerdy Nummies on YouTube and all the baking shows. I really loved that. And so I took one baking class, or I guess cooking class, when I was in high school, and I just picked it up right away. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. So
Right on. Perfect. I just see a comment. Somebody said, I love nerdy, what is it called? Nerdy Nummies?
Nerdy Nummies,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've never heard of it, but I'm glad that others have. Is it just a show on YouTube or?
Yeah, it's just this girl on YouTube, and she bakes like nerdy themed desserts. It's really cute.
That's fantastic. That's great. Yeah. Perfect. And can you describe your experience at SAIT? So can you describe the structure, the time, the start times, the end times, extracurriculars that you did, anything like that for somebody who might be interested in the SAIT program, would like to know?
Yeah, so the start and finish times depends on what like class you're in. So bread class would start earlier than like sugar class. And yeah, I absolutely loved going to SAIT. The instructors are amazing, and they help you like connect on a personal level, and you get that industry connection, which is really nice. And the first year at SAIT, when you go, it's mainly focused on like the basics. So you just learn like functions of just like ingredients and bread making. And then the second year is really fun, and where you get to be creative, and you do like sugar work and chocolate work, and it's really cool.
That's awesome. That's great. We just had a question from some of our viewers. One person asked, what is sugar class? And I was wondering the same thing.
So, yeah, I guess that's kind of sugar class is when you make, I don't know if you've seen on like the shows or anything, they make like structures out of sugar. So it's like blown sugar and like molded sugar. So you get to learn how to do that. We made a fruit bowl, and then we got to make a showpiece of whatever we wanted out of sugar. So yeah, it's just basically melting sugar and making it into things.
Wow, that's very cool. I've actually seen some of the amazing structures around SAIT, and it's crazy. I definitely recommend for our viewers to search, what would be the term, the sugar structure? Would that be?
Like a sugar showpiece?
Yeah, sugar showpiece, definitely. Okay, another question that we had is, what was your favorite class at SAIT?
Chocolate class. I absolutely love making chocolates. It's my favorite thing. It's kind of what I specialize in. Everywhere I go, I always do the chocolate work. Yeah, I just picked it up real quick. It's my favorite thing.
Very cool. So can you describe making chocolate? Can you just go into detail with that?
Yeah, so you have to do what's called tempering. So that's basically there's crystals in chocolate, and so when you temper it, you bring it to certain temperatures to break down the crystals and then rebuild the crystals so that you get that hard snap in the chocolate, which is what you want. Yeah, if it's not tempered, it'll just kind of be sad.
That's interesting. Very interesting. We did have another question. How many years did you go to SAIT for?
2 years. So the program that I took is 2 years. I know there's another program, and I think it's only a year or two. I'm not quite sure. But the program I took, which is the main baking and pastry one, was 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay, we have lots of questions coming in. So these are all questions from the people who are watching, which is fantastic. Is it difficult to be in a hot environment with so many ovens?
It does get a little hot, especially depending on the kitchen size you're in. Like when I was at Bridget Bar, very small kitchen, very close to each other. It does get hot, but usually whenever you work places, you get free water and free soda, so you can just drink that. And then, of course, you can take a break, go into the walk-in if you need to cool down, and then go back out.
Right. Good question. Another question. Do you watch Bon Appetit? Claire, I don't know this show, but apparently Claire's doesn't like tempering chocolate. Is it really that hard?
I do watch Bon Appetit. I love Bon Appetit. I love Pastry Chef Makes Gourmet. It's my favorite. Yeah, I don't think it's that hard, but other people that were in my class couldn't temper chocolate to save their life. So, yeah, I think you just need the understanding for it. But I don't think it's that hard.
No. Maybe, is it something that you could really work on any skill, but is it something maybe you pick up more naturally than somebody else? Is it?
Yeah, but the first time I tempered chocolate actually was by accident, and I didn't even know I tempered it. And then my chef came over and was like, good temper. And I was like, oh, okay.
Wow, that's very interesting. Very interesting. Another question, just kind of off of that theme, is when you temper the chocolate, do you make structures with it?
Yeah, you can make anything out of chocolate. When I was going to school, I made a little anglerfish statue out of chocolate, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, you can make anything. There's this one guy I think he's on YouTube and on Instagram. His name's like Amiri something. It's French. I can't say it. But he makes amazing chocolate structures. Like he made a dragon and like he made a clock that works out of chocolate. It's insane.
Wow. What was his name or his show?
Let me see if I can find it. I think it's Amiri something.
Amiri, okay.
French.
That's good to know. So whoever asked that question, maybe search Amiri and you'll be amazed, hopefully.
Just quick, I can't find it, but if I find it, I'll let you know.
Okay. Was it hard to get a job after you graduated?
No, it was actually really easy. So first I went to SAIT right away and I worked at SAIT. So that was a good transition into like the baking world for me. But yeah, there's always something out there. There's always hiring bread makers because people don't like getting up early. So you can always get a job in bread. Yeah, you just have to look around and know what to look for.
Yeah. And that's a good point, right? People, I guess, always need to eat. So there will be jobs for bakers and anybody in this industry. Obviously, COVID, we're kind of weird right now, but more likely than not, you can find a job. Another question is, how much do bakers or pastry arts chef make per year? I can answer just according to SAIT's website, but maybe you kind of have a different experience on this. on the SAIT website, the median salary is $33,000. So that's the median starting salary. Maybe you have a different range.
Yeah, it really just depends on like what field you go into, because if you're doing something more like delicate and like working in like a fancy restaurant, obviously you'll get paid more than if you're just at like a mom and pop pie shop.
Mm-hmm.
So really just depends where you go.
Right.
And yeah, how hard you work.
Right. Very interesting. Another question. What is the possible downside of going into baking?
I guess the hours are kind of hard. When you start, you definitely work weekends all the time. And yeah, it's just the hours, I guess, you have to get used to, because they're definitely different than like a regular 9 to 5 job, because most of the time you don't know when you're ending. So that's all.
That's the hardest part. Do you think that somebody needs to be like an early bird in order to like this job, or is that not really that important?
No, I guess it depends, again, where you want to work. If you don't want to get up super early, restaurants usually you work a bit later, especially if you do like the dinner shift and stuff, then you're usually working super late. So you're either there super late or super early. So
Right.
pick your poison.
Okay, perfect. And what is the hardest thing you've made as a baker?
Hardest thing I've made, probably sugar work, because it's so fragile, and it doesn't matter how many gloves you wear, it still hurts to touch, and it's just hot and uncomfortable. But does come out really cool when you get it down, but it's so difficult. I remember when I was in class, I made a fruit bowl, and I made all my sugar fruits, and I left for the night, and I came back, and there was a leak in the roof, and all my sugar melted, so I had to start from the beginning.
Oh no.
Yeah, but that's hard, but you just gotta work through it.
Right. And so just for the viewers, she's talking about an actual bowl that she made out of sugar, and then you make the fruit that goes in it as well, right? Out of sugar. So everything is out
I
of
have
sugar.
a picture of it that I can hold
Yeah.
up if you want.
If you can, it would be a good image to show everyone. Because I have seen those around SAIT as well. So that's completely made out of sugar.
Yeah, the stand all the way to the fruit, all sugar.
Very interesting. It looks like real fruit. Like it looks a little bit glossier, but that's very interesting. Okay, perfect. So one person asked, how much does it cost per year to go to SAIT? And Kayla, just on the back end, I believe she put a link to the website in the chat box. So whoever asked that question, maybe just click that link and then you can head to the website and it will give more detailed information than I think we could give right now. So yeah, just check out that link. Perfect. And then what's the next question? Sorry, we have lots coming in, which is fantastic. Okay, one person asked, in your opinion, would you have gone into this line of work if you thought, even though you wouldn't be making that much money, is it worth it? So you get, I guess, you said before the range could be huge. It depends where you work. And every job that you get, you have to start out kind of somewhere. So that is an interesting question. And I think it could be maybe phrased as, do you have to be, I guess, passionate about baking because maybe you don't make the most money, or what's kind of your take on that?
Yeah, so going into it, I did know you don't make a lot of money in that field. And I think it's worth it, because when you love what you do, it's not really work anymore. So money is not a big part of it for me. I really like baking and it makes me happy. So money is just, I don't know, not important.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great answer too. And I like how you said, if you love what you do, it doesn't even feel like work. So You're getting paid to not even do work, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Perfect. And more questions. Do you love making desserts or do you get tired of it?
Sometimes I get tired of the repetition, depending on what I'm doing. Like, I can't even think of an example. But yeah, I don't really get tired of it, especially now because I've gotten a pastry chef job, so I get to come up with the recipes and make what I want to make. So that's super cool. But yeah, I don't think I've ever gone to work and be like, ugh, I have to make this dessert.
Right.
Yeah.
So at your current job, nobody tells you what to make? You get to kind of decide that for yourself?
Yeah, so Philosophy Coffee just started doing desserts. That's why I haven't really started yet because they're building a kitchen. And so I get to just be creative with like what season it is, and I get to just make a few desserts of whatever I think would be good for the showcase. So yeah, it's all up to me, which is kind of cool.
Very, very interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, next question. Do you get to try the things you make or do you ship them off to the customer? So I guess do you get to try them before you put them in the showcase, or do you just have to hope for the best?
Yeah, definitely always try at least just like a little spoon of whatever you make. Um, I have a big recipe book of things I've already tested and made, so usually I don't have to taste it every time, but you do. You want to make sure it tastes okay. So yeah, I would definitely taste everything before, especially at a restaurant. You want to make sure it doesn't taste funky before you send it out.
Right. So in that big recipe book that you have, do you just trust that it'll turn out the same every time, or sometimes does it taste a little different, or?
Yeah, as long as I follow the steps, it usually comes out always the same, but sometimes there is a fluke in like the measurements or something, but you can usually tell right away when
Right.
something's not right. But yeah, always taste it to make sure.
Okay, good tip, good tip. Um, if you went to SAIT again, would you take the same program or do something different?
Um, I might try to take culinary as well. I was thinking about going back and taking maybe culinary and nutrition, just so I have more knowledge on the food industry. But yeah, I think I would take baking again. It's a really good program.
That's great. That's great.
Mhm.
Okay. So just kind of to the audience, we've kind of turned this all into the Q&A portion. These are none of my questions now. These are all yours. So please keep them coming. They're great questions. The next question is, are you expected to bake things that are catered to different dietary restrictions? If so, is that difficult?
Um, it's not too difficult. They teach you at SAIT. There's a whole class of like dietary and like nutrition things to like learn how to switch up a recipe if you need to. I know at a restaurant you always make something that has dietary restrictions, like a vegan. We used to make a vegan cheesecake, and then we had a sorbet for people that couldn't eat what we made. So yeah, you just got to keep it in the back of your mind when you're making things. Like you want to have a variety of things that everyone can eat.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
That's a good point too.
Mm-hmm.
Just making sure that there's different items for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had to deal with a mad customer?
Yes, I have. During my internship, actually. So when you go to SAIT and you take the program I took, you have first year, and then during that summer in between first and second year, you have to do an internship, and then you do second year. So my internship I did at Safeway. I was the cake decorator, which was pretty cool. I did have one lady yell at me one time because she said I ruined her daughter's birthday cake because, I don't know, the color wasn't right or something. It was supposed to be dark pink and it was a slightly lighter pink than that. So you definitely do get some opinions, but it is definitely an industry you need a tough skin for.
Right, right. And I guess that could be said for most service industries is you do need a little bit of tougher skin. There's always going to be people that are not the most happy, but you learn to deal with them. And
Yeah, it outweighs because you always get that one customer that's so appreciative and so happy that you did what you did. So
yeah,
it's make it worth it.
can you tell us of a memorable story where somebody was extremely happy?
We had one lady at Finesse Desserts actually. She ordered her wedding cake from somewhere else, but she forgot to order a wedding topper. So she begged us to make her a cake topper, and we did. And the next day she brought us all in coffee, and she was so happy and she cried. It was so nice.
Oh, that's so special too, because a wedding is it's massive day, right? So you really made her day there. So that's fantastic. Um, do you know any famous pastry arts chefs? Have any of your friends been on TV baking shows?
I do not, and nope, they have not.
No?
I
Maybe
get
down the
told all
line.
the time I should do. Oh, you should do this baking show, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to be on TV.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. That's a whole other element of pressure. So that's
Yeah,
maybe down the line.
maybe.
How hard is it to set up your own bakery?
You actually, when you go to SAIT, they do a little business course with you where you fake set up your own business. So they do teach you how to do that. It is a process. It does cost quite a bit of money, but I think in the long run, totally worth it. I'm kind of thinking about doing it just because I like being my own boss, but yeah, it would be definitely a process, I would say.
Right. If you were to open up your own, would it just be exclusively like baked treats, or would it be more like a coffee shop, or what do you think it
Um,
would be?
I think I would do more like custom things, like
Mhm.
custom chocolate and custom cakes, like stuff like that. Because it is hard working. Finesse Desserts was a small owned cafe business that just opened, and it was really hard. I saw that struggle there. It was hard to keep up with that demand of filling the showcase every day. So I think custom things would be a lot more my speed.
Right. Very interesting. Okay. With a baking education in Canada, would you be able to get a job in another country like the USA or somewhere in Europe?
Oh yeah, you could go anywhere, especially if you get your red seal. I haven't gotten mine yet, but that's recognized, I think globally. So yeah, you could go anywhere. I know a friend of mine, they did their internship in Paris,
Wow.
so you can go literally anywhere.
Very, very cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what we were talking with the culinary lady that we had on. That's something she lived lots of places and was able to cook many places. And that's something about this type of education is that everybody needs to eat. So it's very universal in that way. So it's fantastic. What other possible jobs can you get with your educational experience?
You could also be a teacher, so you could teach baking, which I would like to do eventually. I would like to become a teacher. Um, yeah, you could branch off, do bread, do cakes. There's lots of things you can do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And possibly even in this world of social media, you could be Instagramming all of your creations and become a food blogger or anything like that. So
Yeah.
seems like there's lots of different possibilities. That's fantastic. Is there a rush hour in bakeries or a busy time of the day?
Um, well, depending on what time you're working, of course, there's different rush hours. So if you work in the morning, usually when people come in for like their breakfast and their coffee, that's big rush. So around 7 o'clock, I would say 7, 8 o'clock. But if you're working at night, there's the dinner rush, which is a big thing. Yeah, so it just depends where you are.
Right. And probably weekends, people are visiting, trying
Yeah,
to.
weekends more so, and holidays. Christmas is crazy. If you're baker, Christmas is the most stressful time for sure.
Yeah, great question. Do you have a favorite recipe you're willing to share?
Hmm. Actually, one of my favorite cookie recipes is one we did at summer camps. It was
Oh,
a cranberry oatmeal cookie. So
cranberry oatmeal. Maybe I'll just write that down.
yeah,
Cranberry oatmeal. Okay, that's good to know.
that's actually my absolute favorite cookie. was the one that we made there.
Really? That's
Mhm.
good to know. Okay, cranberry oatmeal. What's the best way to get experience in baking given COVID, the COVID situation?
I would say look up some online classes. I know my former mentor at Bridget Bar, she just started her own online teaching like business. I think it's called Caitlin's Kitchen. So she teaches online classes. That would be a good way to start, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
and there's tons of YouTube videos and different shows that you can watch and tons of resources online, which I think are fantastic. Even next week, we're doing, Kayla's going to be putting on a baking, zucchini chocolate chip cookies we'll be baking together. So I think there is a ton of resources out there. So that is a great question, just because this COVID situation is so unique and we've never gone through something like this before. So fortunately, baking and cooking is something that you can do at home.
Mhm.
So really practice in that way. But yeah, I think online resources are the best bet.
Yeah, definitely utilize YouTube. YouTube is the best, I think. That's where I learned to bake before I
Right.
went to school was YouTube.
Yeah, great advice. Another question is, do you bake in bulk? Or if you get an order, do you just bake one thing at a time?
We usually bake in bulk. It's just way easier to keep up with demand. It's better to make 50 eclairs than to make 10 that you need, you know? Because you can always freeze things and then just repurpose them later as well. So I
Right.
would say in bulk, definitely. Unless you're at home, then definitely do small portions. In
Or else
bulk,
you'll end up with 50 eclairs. Okay, what is the craziest thing you have ever baked?
craziest thing I've ever baked. Um, Honestly, probably in school, the sugar work is probably the craziest thing I've done because I've never had to do that outside of school, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to make.
So are those meant to be eaten or are they just for decorative purposes?
You can eat it unless it's Isomalt, which is like a different kind of sugar that's more just for display. I wouldn't eat it just because it's straight up sugar that people have been touching. It's kind
Mm,
of not what I would want, but yeah, you could eat it.
yeah, that's interesting. You're an artist at that point too, so I guess
Mhm.
pastry arts is definitely artistry. So, is there a recipe that you hate making?
Um, Honestly, bread is not my best friend. Yeasted things, just I can't. I can't sometimes. I tried to make what was it? Oh, I was trying to make. Now I can't remember what I was trying to make. I was trying to make something at home, and I made the dough and I let it sit. And I left, and I was like, awesome, I'm gonna have this thing in like an hour. And then I went back, and nothing happened to it. Killed the yeast. So
Oh,
I'm
so
just
it's
not.
the component yeast that you don't like cooking with, is it, or baking with?
Yeah, it's just like when everyone was doing sourdough at the beginning of this lockdown, I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I tried and I couldn't do it. I was
Oh
like, how
yeah,
can I not do it? But everyone else can. It doesn't make sense. Just I'm
yeah.
not good at bread.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Um, Even though you specialize in baking, would you become a chef if you had to?
Like, do they mean like just like a savory food kind of chef? Do you think?
I think so. I think so.
I'm really bad at cooking, if I'm gonna be honest. So probably not. They do teach you in my program. There's like I think 2 weeks that you do like introduction to cooking. So they do teach you like basics of cooking. And yeah, that's about all I can do. I'm not very good at just cooking.
Good to know, yeah. Good
Yeah.
question, too. Have you ever made macaroons before and did they end up well? Do you have any tips on how to make them turn out well?
Um, so I think they're talking about macarons. There's two different kinds. So there's macaroons and macarons, which gets confusing to people that don't know.
Oh, can
So
you explain the difference as well?
yeah, so macaroons is coconut, and it's like just a little coconut ball. And so macarons is the sandwich cookie, which I think is what they're talking about because that's the well-known difficult one. Um, I can make them. They're very hard for sure. There's a lot of steps, and you have to be very like on the ball, specific with them. Like if you do one thing wrong, they won't turn out right. So they are very tricky to master, but once you have your technique down, they're pretty easy.
What is it about it that makes it so difficult? Is it just that there's so many steps?
Yeah, there's a lot of steps. You have to cook sugar to a certain temperature, and you have to pour it in at a certain speed into like the eggs, and then you have to fold it to a certain consistency. And if it's under or over that consistency, they won't turn out right. They're very tricky to master.
Do you have any tips for somebody who's looking to get better at them?
Just practice, 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 practice. You just have to find that right consistency and right technique for you.
Right. Um, was your dream career a baker when you were younger?
When I was really little, I wanted to be a doctor, like everyone wants to be when they're little. But yeah, I think since when I hit high school, I knew I wanted to do baking.
That's great. And oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's just because like it's what I like to watch on YouTube. It's like all I would watch all the time is baking, so I kind of just knew.
And was it kind of that first class that you took that you kind of knew, like maybe this is something that I want to do for a career?
Yeah, so actually we're decorating sheet cakes in my class. I think there was like 5 of us for some event. I don't remember what. And everyone was struggling with it, but I picked it up really easily. So I was like, wow, maybe I could do this. Maybe I'm good at this.
Right. And so that's a great tip. So, I mean, Kayla just had to try something and she found out that she was kind of better than average to start, which is great. And then she really took it and ran with it. So she would have never known that if she wouldn't have tried that foods class. So great tip. Can you recommend YouTube or Instagram channels that are reliable?
Um, Probably I would start off with Nerdy Nummies because that's what I started off with. She's very informative and just fun to listen to, and she makes fun things. So that's a good one to watch. If you're watching baking shows on Netflix, I don't recommend like Nailed It and stuff like that because that's just for show. Sugar Rush is a good one. Actually, I really appreciated that one because it kind of teaches you about the importance of time management, which when you go to school and you work in the industry is really important, managing your time. Yeah, and Zumbo's Just Desserts on Netflix is really good too because it shows you that anyone can bake and be creative because those are amateurs making like professional level desserts. So yeah, recommend those.
Great tips. Perfect. What is your favorite thing to bake? Did we hit on this? Maybe just repeat it for the people that didn't hear.
I think we talked about my favorite recipe, but my favorite thing to bake, because it's my favorite thing to eat, is chocolate mousse for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then my favorite thing to just like play with, I guess, would be chocolate. I don't love eating chocolate because you get sick of it after a while, but I really like making chocolate, and then I really like making mousse. So I guess those 2 things.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. If you make very sugary things that are for show, do you throw them out after? So we kind of talked about this, but maybe just reiterate it.
Yeah, so you do throw it out after. I know in sugar class, after you're done, you have the option to smash it if you wanted, or take it home. I took mine home, which I don't recommend. It was very scary because it was really tall and made of sugar, and on Deerfoot, that was not fun. Mine did smash when I got it home, though. I left it on the table in the sun, so it just kind of melted and then fell on the ground. But yeah, in class, you get to just smash it after if you don't want to take it home, which is kind of fun, actually. It's kind of satisfying.
Totally. And so how long does something like that take to make from start to finish? How many hours would you say?
When we did in school, we were there about 5 hours a day, so I would say at least 20 hours.
Wow.
It takes about a week, so 20, 25 hours, depending on the size too and how many people you have working on it, because I know my sugar bowl took me a week and it was only like this big and I did it alone. And then the big showpiece I made was 3 of us and that took us about a week and a half to make. So
that's a
yeah.
big project, yeah. So this next question I can actually answer. So the question is, are you able to attend both university and SAIT? So the answer is yes, of course, you could. So just one example would be if you were to take the pastry arts program and you wanted to be a foods teacher, you could then go to university and complete an education degree and then become a foods teacher, for example. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing is we've heard quite a few people take a trade or a cooking or baking program or something at SAIT for 2 years and then use that to work and make money while they go to university. That's another option for something totally different or something related. So yeah, there's a couple options there, but yes, definitely you're not limited to just a diploma program. If you kind of go on that route, you can definitely take steps to advance your education. Next question is, do you have to have a lot of patience as a pastry chef?
Yeah, for sure you need a lot of patience, especially when you're doing like very fancy little desserts. You definitely need patience when you're working with it. I know a lot of cooks that I've worked with have no patience at all, and it's really funny to watch them try and help with little dainty desserts because they just done with it. But yeah, you for sure need some patience, I think.
Yeah, and even what you were saying about a 25-hour project, that's so long. You definitely need a lot of patience for that. So
Yeah,
seems
there's
like
definitely things you can't rush in pastries.
Right.
Just, wait it out.
Right. Absolutely. Another great question. So our questions are kind of slowing down now, which we received a lot of them. So thank you everyone for those fantastic questions. Kayla, do you have anything else that you would like to add for somebody who might be thinking about this program or this career path, or somebody who's just kind of looking at it for a hobby?
Yeah, so definitely try baking at home, I would say. Watch videos, see how you feel about it. If it's something that you really enjoy doing, I would say go for it. Try the program. See if you can reach out to more people that like took the program. Look on the SAIT page. I'm sure there's people all over there that have taken it and you can reach out to. And yeah, I would say if it's something you're thinking about doing, give it a shot.
That's great. Yeah, and just to go off of that again, next week we will be baking zucchini chocolate chip cookies. They taste fantastic. So join us there where we actually will be baking. We'll go through the steps together. We'll send out an ingredients list and we'll do it in real time with you. So that's definitely another option. And I believe that there is still spots in it. So definitely sign up there. And yeah, I mean, I think that's it for us. I'm going to be staying around just to answer any last minute questions, but thank you so much, Kayla, for your time and your advice and your guidance for us. So that was amazing. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
Bye.